Hello everyone, my name's Lex. So I had mentioned it on a just rambling last week that I wanted to try and run a mini campaign tabletop session, something like that. I've had a number of different ideas kind of running through my head. Well, I think the one that I've kind of settled on for the most part is a Pathfinder 2E hack called Hopefinder, made by the same lead designer of Pathfinder 2E, Jason Bowman. And it's called Hopefinder, a zombie apocalypse. Let's switch it up actually. Okay. A zombie apocalypse setting. So definitely more modern than what the traditional Pathfinder 2E stuff is. I don't know, it kind of caught my eye, so to speak. Be able to run something like that. Let me actually turn this down this a little bit. So yeah, I think I'm gonna want to, and also kind of taking a little bit of a page out of my game master that I have been playing quite a few games with, Crash Gem. He normally does his campaign prep on stream / records it. So I don't know, taking a crack at this, seeing how it goes. Just for my sake and prosperity, and also to kind of hopefully keep me on to at least see like some progress being made, because I am, if my video games are anything to look at, I am notorious for starting stuff and not finishing anything. Backlog for days. So let's at least try and get something going. Alright, so like I said, this is Hopefinder, which is a zombie apocalypse hack of Pathfinder Second Edition. I think I'm just gonna read through the Survivor's Guide. It's survivors are the name for essentially player characters in this system. So this would essentially be like reading through a player's guide in Pathfinder's 2e. So, very light on spoilers. I don't think there's anything major. There is also the narrator's guide, which is the narrator is their term for the game master. That one's definitely going to have a lot more spoilers, and I'll probably go through that at a later date. But for right now, just going to go through the survivor's guide. It is a chunky 68 pages, so this is probably going to be a couple of sessions to just read through this whole thing. So yeah, this Hopefinder is a Minotaur game supplement by Jason Bowman. Like I said, Jason Bowman, he's the lead designer on Pathfinder 2e. He has his own company that he runs, Minotaur Games, that puts out supplements for Pathfinder. Interesting little cycle, but it is what it is. And yeah, so he came out with, actually, hold on a second. I want to look at. There's a page that I originally want to go to. Okay, so originally, he had put out the Hopefinder system, I think back at like late 2022. And then he did a Kickstarter for it in 2023 just to have a print edition of it. So I did end up backing that. But yeah, so yeah, hey Pockets. So yeah, on the it does say 2032. Yeah, so the apocalypse, well actually I'm kind of reading it a little bit, just going a bit further. Today, people call it the Fall, a simple name for a whirlwind of death and violence that marks the end of the world. In the final months of 2022, a swine parasite spread around the world, killing billions, causing them to rise up as the hungry dead. The Z Plague hit fast, killing most of the infected within days. In just weeks, world governments began to crumble. A year later, civilization had all but collapsed, and only a few million desperate souls remained, surrounded by a world hellbent to consume them. Now is the year 2032. So yes, 10 years later, after the fall, is where the actual setting takes place. So that's why on the materials it's listing it as 2032. You are a survivor, one of the lucky few struggling every day to keep humanity around a little while longer. And then, like I said, Hopefinder is a hack of Pathfinder, modern zombie apocalypse RPG built using the rules engine from Pathfinder Second Edition. It's a hack of Pathfinder. Is not a complete game, and it requires a working understanding of Pathfinder 2e to play, which is hopefully what I am getting by playing in Alkenstar at the moment. And hopefully it'll just build from there. Hopefinder replaces the class system of Pathfinder with a story-driven classless advancement system that empowers the survivors, the PCs, to drive the narrative forward by revealing their backstory through flashbacks. The narrator, the GM, works with the players to tell a compelling story by setting the stage, adjudicating the rules, and controlling the actions of the zombies and other characters. So yeah, I do actually have, oh Jesus, the print edition of Hopefinder here, a couple booklets, couple of stickers and stuff like that. When I backed it last year. So going through the PDF of the actual Survivor's Guide. Kind of starting off here with a timeline of what occurred to the world. February 19th, 2023. Confidential U.S. Emergency Command clearance only. Prepared for the United States Joint Chiefs of Staff, North American Survival Plan Group. Subject, and hopefully this is actually readable on stream. Like, it doesn't look crappy on stream. Subject, timeline of the Z Plague. Enclosed is a complete list of events that led to the widespread distribution of the Xenocol amoebic encephalitis. I'm in the pharmaceutical industry and I hate pronouncing pharmaceutical names. Also, I am very bad pronouncing stuff in general. Encephalitis parasite, or just more commonly known as the Z Plague. This timeline is classified. Disclosing these details is a Class X felony. Okay, so they have this timeline here, and I'm actually going to look for this one because there was one that's on his actual site for his company. They do have a timeline, which I'll probably read both of them. This one does, okay. So September 23rd, 2022. Xenocol Pharmaceutical HQ in Madison, Wisconsin begins animal testing of the novel Z parasite with the stated goal of controlling the wild hog population. Oh, okay. You can see where this is going. September 30th. After failed testing, Xenocol execs send the Z parasite back to design and order the remaining test subjects destroyed. One hog corpse animates while en route to the disposal facility, killing the truck driver and escaping into a nearby domesticated herd. October 1st. While taking the herd to slaughter, the farmer is bit, contracting the Z Plague. October 3rd. The farmer dies at St. Mary's Regional Medical Center, south of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. His corpse animates that night, affecting 14 people before being terminated. October 4th, pork from the farmer's herd arrives at stores in the greater Milwaukee and Chicago areas. October 5th, one of the farmer's associates arrives in Seattle, Washington to visit family, infecting hundreds at the local market and a sporting event. If I do remember also, because I've also watched a couple of videos that Jason has done on this, he did also mention that the dude infected people when he was just in the airport. And you know how that happens, the cesspools that are airports, that was just a bacterial culture just waiting to spread. October 7th, mass casualties reported in Milwaukee and Chicago. An estimated 150 died to Z Plague. In turn, they go on to kill 200 more and infect thousands. October 10th, governors of Wisconsin and Illinois declare a state of emergency. First infection wave reported in Washington. Cases confirmed in 14 countries. Sonic Hall HQ burns to the ground to hide evidence of involvement. Okay. um. yeah, sure. Just shredding is not enough. Just burn the whole fucking HQ to the ground. October 13th, local government collapses in Wisconsin and Illinois. Uncontrolled infection in Seattle, Washington. Cases reported in 42 states. October 14th, all flights grounded to and from the United States. October 15th, civil unrest breaks out nationwide. Estimated 20,000 dead, 1.5 million infected. So in the span of, let's see, the farmer who was bit on the first, and then essentially 2 days later he infects about 14 people, and then 2 weeks later 20,000 dead, 1.5 million infected. October 16th, President of the United States approves Operation Clean Slate. Ground forces in Seattle lure infected to sports stadiums. October 18th, strategic cruise missile detonates a 1.8 kiloton explosion south of downtown Seattle, destroying an estimated 2,000 dead in the blast. Further radiation ineffective. The President of the United States declares a state of emergency. And then 2 days later, the President of the United States contracts the Z Plague. So, yeah. All within the span of about 3 weeks. The US is royally fucked. And then going on, it looks like 2 months later, give or take, December 11th, 1 billion are dead. The Z Plague continues to ravage the world as the dead are, let's just say, probably reanimated. This is not the end. Do not despair. The Z Plague has come to wipe this world clean so that the true believers may inherit the earth. Join us in our quest for purity so that we might be saved. Our commune is accepting new acolytes now, but act fast. Yeah, of course, there's going to be religious hysteria as well. Dan, I'm not sure if you will ever see this. The dead are everywhere now. If you get this note, I am taking the kids and making, some of this is cut off, some it's going to be kind of estimating. I am taking the kids and making our way up to your, I guess, woods cabin. Something outside nearly gone. I cannot wait. Something bits know that I love you, but do not come and find me. I don't know if that's love, but I'm just going to assume. But do not come and find me. I could not live with myself if I had to put you down. Day 1729. Killed 2 shamblers out on the ridge last night. That makes for over a dozen this week. Looks like I'm gonna have to move camp again if the horde is heading this way. So yeah, pretty much if you think about like any zombie apocalypse media, whether that is TV shows, video games, movies, books, that was the inspiration for Hopefinder. At least from what I've been able to tell from all the stuff that Mr. Bullman has put out on the game. Though the thing about zombie apocalypses is it's generally not so much about the zombies, because those are just, you know, shambling corpses that are running on autopilot. It's more about the survivors that are living in this new world and how they have either adjusted or completely fallen to said chaos. So, introduction. Hopefinder is a game of survival in the zombie apocalypse powered by the Pathfinder Second Edition game engine. This is the Survivor's Guide, containing all the rules needed to make a character and play. The Narrator's Guide contains all the advice and tools needed to run the game. You are a survivor, one of the few that made it. You lived through the downfall of civilization, resulting from a contagious plague that turned most of the world into flesh-eating monsters. Through play, your origin will be revealed, your story will be developed, and your fate will be discovered. So the basics. Hopefinder is based on Pathfinder Second Edition rules engine, but many details have been changed to better suit the zombie apocalypse genre. The game of Hopefinder consists of 4 to 6 players called survivors and 1 player who serves as a narrator. While the survivors control a single character, the narrator controls all other characters you might encounter, from desperate wanderers to brutal raiders, and of course the hungry dead. Each survivor starts off with a basic set of skills and abilities, but there's more to each of them than meets the eye. Throughout play, each survivor will experience flashbacks to their life before the fall and key moments from those early days of panic and chaos. Every flashback shapes a survivor, unlocking new feats and abilities that they kept hidden until absolutely necessary. Although they had these skills the whole time, it's hard to trust anyone after the fall. Being underestimated can make the difference between life and death. In addition to flashbacks, characters will gain levels as they struggle to survive in the ruined world. Levels are gained at the completion of major stories, usually at the end of each play session. With each level, a survivor gains a small increase to their hardiness, some skill training, and other benefits to represent what new abilities they pick up as a result of their recent experiences. The world is falling apart in this game, and your gear is no exception. Items degrade and supplies are scarce. Your survivor will have to scavenge for food and drink clean water and stay on the lookout for new tools, weapons, and armor to ensure that they have the best chance of survival. The Dead. The Z-Plague started out as a parasite made to control the feral pig population, but it turned them into frenzied beasts. Soon after, it jumped into the food supply and the world was doomed. Government officials called for precautions, but many carried on with their lives even as the plague spread all around them. Those infected died swift, painful deaths, but they didn't stay dead. Their decaying bodies rose, their minds rotten, left only with a desire to feed. Within a month, most world governments had collapsed. Some launched nuclear weapons, some built shelters, none of it mattered. After a year, there was nothing left, and the estimated global population was reduced by more than 99.9%. You are a survivor. The year is 2032. There's just over 500,000 people left on the planet. The rest are all dead. Over 7 billion corpses, hungry for the desperate survivors that remain. In the early days of the plague, the city of Seattle was one of the places hit hardest. Downtown is an infested, haunted ruin. To the south is an irradiated wasteland where the military tried to contain and eradicate the dead with a tactical nuclear strike. You live in the Free Ballard settlement north of downtown. Although it's safe inside the community, life is far from easy. Food is scarce, and death is one mistake away. Yet, there is hope. This is a game about keeping the lights on for one more day and striving to find a reason to carry on. It can be a game about your redemption, salvation, and finding joy. All might seem lost, but that makes your story, your hope, shine even brighter. Okay, so it's a hack. Hopefinder isn't a complete game by itself and relies on the core rules of Pathfinder Second Edition to function. Side note, Pathfinder just went through a revision remaster, so that's gonna be interesting. I'm pretty sure. I mean, this hack was designed by the lead designer of Pathfinder 2e, so I'm pretty sure he would have already had an idea of what was going to be changing, um, and that was part of what he was doing for Hopefinder. I hope that's the case. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to do a little bit of research. Excuse me. All right, some Pathfinder content can work here, but much of it has been replaced with a simplified classless system of feats. You can pick up and add other material at the narrator's discretion. As a simple guide, most of the fantastical content is out. Hopefinder is set in the real world where magic doesn't exist, so feats, spells, and items that work based on magic don't work here. Combat works mostly how it does in Pathfinder. You still roll initiative and take 3 actions on your turn, and rolling a 20 or beating a target number by 10 is still a critical success. Critical hits are more lethal and carry nasty drawbacks, and you will still die the same way, just quicker. The primary rule to know is this: if a rule is discussed here, it's usually to talk about how it is different from Pathfinder. If a rule is not mentioned in here, it works the same as it does in Pathfinder, and that's something I'm going to have to keep in mind as I keep moving through this. And of course, the first rule of Pathfinder still applies. If a rule here doesn't work for you and your group, feel free to change it to ensure everyone has a good time. Alright, so content. Oh, and I didn't address what you said earlier, Pockets. Yeah, so the flashback system is actually kind of cool in the fact that they've changed around from having classes, and you kind of become better and have more things to you as you kind of like look back on your life, reflecting on things that you may have encountered before and how they apply to the current situation that you're in, and then how those skills kind of get brought out. So I do kind of like that change in the system, and it's also going to be kind of talked about a little bit further on in this Survivor's Guide. Content. The apocalypse is a dark place filled with horrific stories that depict some of the worst facets of the human condition. Although the point of this game is to shine a light on the hope that thrives even in such circumstances, as a player, you should talk with the other participants about what content you are comfortable including in the narrative. To help in these discussions, Hopefinder places challenging content into one of 3 categories: in, hidden, and out. So in content. This content is assumed to be part of the game and might come up in adventures during narration. Survivors may be confronted directly with this material as part of the game, and the group should talk about this content to make sure everyone is okay with its inclusion. Note that content being in doesn't mean that it should be handled in a cavalier manner. Many of these topics are challenging, nuanced, and shouldn't be approached without careful consideration. Additionally, much of the content here can be moved to hidden without impacting the narrative too much. So, for in content, obviously we're going to be looking at blood, cannibalism, mainly of the zombie type, as they are flesh-eating corpses. Death, both animal and human. There are, with the fall of society and the wilderness kind of reclaiming stuff, as it does when humans aren't doing stuff to essentially terraform the earth. Yeah, animals are going to be prevalent again. So likely there'll be some conflict with animals, and it may have to get a little violent. And then yeah, humans obviously we're just shitbags, even in the best situations. So there's likely going to be conflict between humans as well. Disease, gore, mass destruction, mental illness, murder, profanity, societal collapse, substance abuse, both alcohol and drugs. That is something that comes up because it's an apocalypse, it's a horrible situation, and people have to find ways to cope, whether that's through sex, drugs, or alcohol. They have to find some way to get by somehow. And then obviously, zombies. Alright, hidden content. This content exists and might be referenced in the story in the world or story, but isn't part of the ongoing play at the table. The survivors may hear and talk about this content, but it's not the focus and will never be depicted in full detail. Again, this content should be discussed with the group beforehand, and these topics can be moved to the out category without impacting the narrative too much. Abuse, emotional, mental, and physical, child endangerment, nudity, pregnancy, self-harm, sexual encounters. As I said before, humans, we're shitbags. So even in the best situations, we tend to do things that are not exactly the best. So when society has collapsed, it brings out the worst. But as they say, this is hidden content, so it may just be things that are alluded to but not described in detail, which definitely makes sense. There's also the whole what's it called? It's the X card system or whatever. That if there's a certain situation that comes up in a game, you essentially raise up that card and say, "Hey, game master, can we not talk about this, or can we move on quickly from this?" So that's something that can also be used in this whole situation as we kind of go through like story beats. Out content. This content is not part of the game or its reference. This content adds nothing to our world, and we would all be better off without it. But pretending like it doesn't exist might not sit well with everyone in your group either. The best course is to leave this content out of the story, but to acknowledge the real harm that it does in our world should it come up. Ableism, animal cruelty, cannibalism, humans. Now this is the other type. Cannibalism in the sense of zombies eating human flesh. That's kind of the whole point of the majority of the creatures that we're going to be engaging in this game. But like I said, for what is this, the third time? Humans are shitbags. And there's been multiple zombie stories of humans turning on one another and thinking that we are our own food source. So yeah, cannibalism. It's something that comes up in quite a few zombie stories. Child abuse, fatphobia. Not sure what that one is. I'm actually curious. Abstract, defined as a pathological fear of fatness. Huh. Okay. Never heard of that one. Homophobia, incest, kidnapping, sexism, sexual assault, sizeism. See, that's kind of what I was thinking it'd be almost similar, but slavery, torture, and transphobia. These lists aren't meant to be exhaustive. Every group is different, and you should work together to ensure that everyone at the table is comfortable with these categories and what they contain. In addition, your group might want to use other well-known safety tools, as I was saying before, to ensure that everyone has a good time, like the X card system. Exploring the bleakest facets of humanity can be engaging and even cathartic, but that should never come at the cost of someone's comfort or safety. Establishing and adhering to these boundaries is everyone's responsibility, which makes complete sense. Um, Especially when it comes to like horror games, like different horrors in quotation mark can affect people in very different ways. Um, I may have a fear of, I don't know, cats or something like that, whereas someone else may have a fear of dogs. So if we come across some sort of situation, something may affect me vastly different than it affects someone else. Want to keep that in mind as we are kind of progressing, so that we're at least having fun at the table. In some instances, it may be unavoidable, but at least having that knowledge in the back of your head, and how to kind of either swerve away or to find a way to at least navigate through it is for the best. All right, diving into survivor creation. Character creation is a bit simpler than what's found in Pathfinder. Thank God. That's probably one of the most complex things that I have realized while playing in Pathfinder. There's a shit ton, a metric shit ton of options, um, customization options that you come across, and you could easily. It's like the board game equivalent of fucking character creation sliders in like video games. Like you could be stuck in a character creation for literal hours. Um you will make several initial choices that help to define some of the basic details about your survivor, but you don't have to worry about every little detail, as many of these will get filled in over time through play and flashbacks. When creating a survivor, start by imagining who they were before the fall, how they survived those chaotic first few months, and what they had to do to survive in the years since. Then grab the Hopefinder Survivor Indication Record found in the character sheet and follow these steps. I do have. Which one are you? This is the character sheet. You permissions. Fuck out of here. Okay. Hopefinder Survivor Identification Record. And from what I remember, in some video, Mr. Bowman was saying that he specifically wanted to make the character sheet look like an actual government form that's being filled out. So the design is very much intentional in how it looks. Oh, so it's taking quite some time to actually load that. This is weird. So yeah, this is kind of what it looks like. All right. First step. Actually, you know what? Screw it. We'll do this as we go, just as a demonstration. Excuse me. Record your ancestry as human. You start with 8 hit points. You are medium or small, depending on age and overall size. It makes no difference in play. And your speed is 25 feet. Do not pick a heritage or ancestry feat. So let's say it's Samson. And I am human. Oh, before I do this, let me actually make a copy of this. Cool. Alright. Let's say we're 30 years old. Pronouns are he, him. Their ID number, don't really have to care about that. Hit points, 8. Number 2, pick 2 different ability modifiers and give them a +1. Don't bother with scores, as Hopefinder only uses ability modifiers. Aha! That is part of the Pathfinder 2e remaster. They don't use scores anymore, they just use modifiers. You can also give one ability modifier a -1 to give a third ability modifier a +1. This must be different from the first 2. Okay. We're going to go. We'll say strength +1, and we'll say wisdom +1. Just for. Oh, it actually is doing some of this stuff automatically. Okay. Select the background from those found on page 8. These represent your life from the fall up to this moment. You will reveal your pre-fall history through a flashback during a play. Each background gives you 2 additional +1 bonuses to your ability modifiers, a trained skill, a feat, and gear. Alright, so it says page 8, which is literally the next page. Perfect. And this was step number 3. So we'll be bouncing a bit back and forth. Let's actually just quickly go through backgrounds. Each survivor has a background that describes how they've managed to survive up to this point in the apocalypse. These scars and lessons are evidence to those around you, which is why you choose them as part of your character creation. Think of this as part of your reputation around the settlement. Later on during play, various flashbacks will detail your life before the fall and pivotal moments for your survival in the early days of chaos and death. Your background can be directly related to your life before the fall, but this is by no means a requirement. Everyone has had to pick up new skills and abilities to learn how to survive in the apocalypse. So selecting a background, choose one of the following backgrounds. Each one gives you 2 +1 bonuses to specific ability modifiers, training in 1 skill, a feat, and a piece of gear. Record these items on your survivor's character sheet. Alright, so the first one, authority. You've made yourself useful by being an expert in your field, and your knowledge is valuable to the folks who work to make sure you and others stay alive. Without you, something precious would be lost. You gain a +1 to your con and intelligence. You're trained in lore, you pick 1. You gain the assurance skill feat in your lore skill. And for your gear, you have reference books. 10, which account for 10 bulk, and they give you a +2 to lore checks when you spend 1 hour referencing them. Builder, while everyone focuses on surviving, you've learned how to build things using whatever parts and materials you have on hand. It might not be according to the instructions, but it works. Ability modifiers, you get a +1 to strength and intelligence. You are trained in the crafting skill. You have the specialty crafting skill feat for armor, gear, guns, structures, tools, and weapons. And the piece of gear that you have is a tool belt, which you can hold 4 tools on your belt as ready items. So if I recall correctly, as a little bit of an aside, when it comes to tools in Pathfinder, you can carry up to, I think, 2 tools that have a bulk of 2. You know what? Screw it. Why am I trying to remember off the top of my head? Here we go. Nope, that's not what I'm looking for. Wearing tools. You can make a set of tools such as alchemist tools or healer's tools easier to use by wearing it. This allows you to draw and replace the tools as part of an action that uses them. You can wear up to 2 bulk of tools in this manner. Okay, it wasn't 2 tools itself, it's 2 bulk that you can wear. Tools beyond this limit must be stowed or drawn with an interact action to use. Okay, so as part of your gear, the tool belt. Huh, okay. This is actually saying that you have a quantity of 4 tools that you can have. I don't think that means it bypasses the 2 bulk of tools. I'll have to look into that. Anywho, that was the builder. Bully. After the fall, you quickly realize that it's the easiest way to stay alive was to take what you need from others. Usually through manipulation or threats of violence. You have a reputation to settle. You have a +1 to strength and charisma. You are trained in intimidation. You have the intimidating glare skill feat, and you have a pair of brass knuckles. Makes sense. Daredevil. You crawl and leap through the ruins of everything that fell apart in the months after the plague, looking for supplies, food, and medicine. You go where others fear to tread. You have a +1 to dex and charisma. You are trained in acrobatics. You have the catfall skill feat, and your gear is a pair of hiking boots, which allow you to pass balance checks on uneven terrain. I do want to skip down. I just want to look at this because I know there are some gear things. Oh, here we go. Hiking boots. Provides steady footing. The wearer doesn't need to attempt balance checks on uneven terrain. Okay, so that's what they mean by that. Sorry, I'm just kind of skipping around all over the fucking place. That was the Daredevil. Alright, driver. Most cars don't work anymore, but you know how to find the ones that do, and to get them moving. Your ability to travel long distances, make deliveries, or pick up supplies makes your skills invaluable. You get a +1 to dex and wisdom. You're trained in driving, which is a skill this time around in this game. You have the basic maintenance skill feat, which is a new skill feat, which they have listed on page 18. And the piece of gear that you have is a siphon kit, which you'll be able to pump out gasoline from gas tanks. Entertainer. When they aren't terrified or running for their lives, most people are just bored. Ain't that the truth? With no radio, TV, or internet, you carved a niche by providing some simple entertainment. You get a +1 to con and charisma. You're trained in performance. You have the impressive performance skill feat, and your piece of gear is a musical instrument. The fixer. Everything is broken. Fortunately, you have a knack for understanding and fixing machinery. While much of this is beyond your skills or your skill or means, you can fix an engine, service a bandsaw, or get an old clock working again. You get a +1 to strength and wisdom. You are trained in machinery. You have the quick diagnosis skill feat, again on page 18. And your piece of gear is the machinery kit. Tools to fix and service machinery. The hacker. The power might be out, but computers still control many things. Getting them electricity is only half the problem, and that's where you come in. You know how to get computers to do what you want. You have a +1 to dex and intelligence. You're trained in computers. You get the bypass security skill feat, page 18, and your gear is a power shunt. you are able to supply power to a device for a limited amount of time. Liar. With the right words, anything can be yours, and you'll say anything to survive, even if it means endangering others with bad information. Suffice to say that you've made some enemies along this way. You get a +1 to Dex and Charisma. You are trained in Deception. You have the Charming Liar skill feat, and you have a Makeup Kit, which allows you to make some basic disguises. The Medic. There might not be a cure for the plague, but you've learned to treat just about every other kind of basic injury or ailment. Your skills are valued above all others, and some will go to extreme lengths to secure your help. You get a +1 to Con and Wisdom. You are trained in the Medicine skill. You have the Battle Medicine skill feat, and you have a First Aid Kit, which lets you treat wounds. So in Pathfinder 2E, it's called a Healer's Kit, if I'm not mistaken. But that is replaced with a First Aid Kit here. But it's essentially the same thing. The Muscle. Turns out that being strong has many implications in the apocalypse. You can open doors, scale walls, and swim through flood spaces. It doesn't hurt that you also make a good protector or enforcer. So you get a +1 to Strength and Wisdom. You're trained in Athletics. You have the Hefty Hauler skill feat, and you have either a baseball bat or a hand axe. The Negotiator. Nobody trusts anyone anymore. Even lifelong friends can betray each other. Fortunately, you have a knack for getting folks to sit down, shut the fuck up, find common ground, and work together to keep humanity alive. You get a +1 to Con and Charisma. You are trained in Diplomacy. You have the Group Impression skill feat, and your piece of gear is a Translation Dictionary, which you're able to slowly translate to or from one chosen language. The Runner. You know the ins and outs of the settlement, who has the goods, who to pay off, and who to avoid. Folks come to you when they need something done inside the walls. Everyone knows you. Everybody knows your name. +1 to Dex and Intelligence. You're trained in Society. You have the Streetwise skill feat, and you have a local map. Shows the main locations and streets and a few forgotten paths you've added. Scrounger. The fall left a lot of useful gear sitting around for folks to find, but separating the good stuff from the trash is its own art, and you're an artist. You always have something valuable to trade. So you have +1 to Dex, +1 to Wisdom. You're trained in Survival. You have the Forager skill feat, and you start your play session with, or sorry, probably not the play session. You start your campaign or whatever with 2 extra barter worth of gear. I should probably also interject here. Money is practically worthless in the zombie apocalypse. So everything has moved to a barter system, and Hopefinder is no different. There is a system of items that have barter value, and you are able to trade those out for other things. But we'll get into that later. Essentially, the Scrounger, you start off with extra barter that you can use to make trades. The Sneak. You spent the last few years staying out of sight, laying low until all this blows over. Doesn't seem like that's gonna happen, but okay. Turns out it's a lot easier to survive the apocalypse if the zombies and the raiders don't even know you're there. You get a +1 to Dex and Intelligence. You're trained in Stealth. You have the Terrain Stalker skill feat. You pick one from Ruins, Rural, Urban, or Wilderness. And you have a flashlight with 2 small batteries. Excuse me. Okay. The Thief. Some people hoard the things that folks need to survive, profiting off others' desperations. So, what if you sneak in and take a few things for yourself and others? It's not like they don't have enough to spare. So you have a +1 to Dex and Charisma. You are trained in thievery. You have the pickpocket skill feat, and your piece of gear is lockpicks. And it looks like that's it for the backgrounds. So if we're gonna go back to this sheet, let's see, where, aha, here you are. So for background, since I'm building this character for myself, let's say, let's make something that I'm not. We're gonna make this, okay, so if this character, probably should have looked at backgrounds first. Let's go with runner. Yeah, let's go with runner. Alright, so if that's the case, let me change this shit out. Strength will be 0. We'll make Dex was a 1. And then I'll keep wisdom as where it was. Alright, so if we're picking the runner as our background, skill feat is streetwise. Basic feat number 1. Oh wait, I don't think that comes into play just yet. Just a skill feat for right now, which is streetwise. Okay. We get a +1 to Dex and +1 to Intelligence. So this is now going to be 2. And Intelligence is going to be a 1. Alright, and then we're trained in society and we have a local map. So, where's society? Here we are trained. So we have a +4 to society. And then for here, a ready item. Let's say the local map is a ready item. And I'll get the details for that later. But okay, so that was the background. And that was number 3, I believe. Alright, step 4. Select one ability modifier and give it a +1. This should be an ability that's important to you and that you've already improved in a previous step. There is a maximum of how many... You can't just keep bumping stuff all the time. But ability modifier, give it a +1. At the moment, Dex is at 2, Intelligence 1. We'll bump Intelligence up to 2. And obviously this ain't optimal, but it is what it is. Alright, step 5, mark yourself as trained in 2 saving throws and expert in 1 saving throw. Let's do that first. So we're gonna say we're expert in reflex saves, and we're gonna be trained in the other 2. trained in 2, expert in 1. Okay, perfect. So our reflex is a 7, our fortitude is a 3, and our will is a 1. Is that right? That should be a 4. Because we actually... Yeah, that should be a 4. Let me see if this is actually calculating correctly. Oh, there we go. Oh no, something's not right with the sheet. Alright, well, it is supposed to be a 4. And then mark yourself as trained in perception, light armor, and simple weapons. You're trained in light armor. Where you at? Where you at? Where you at? Everyone is trained in perception. Light armor and simple weapons. So I think items, weapons are on this sheet. Yep. Or sorry, this page. And we are trained in that. If I actually had Foundry stuff set up, I would probably be doing this in Foundry, but for the sake, I'm just gonna do it in this PDF sheet that was provided. Alright. Select the number of skills equal to 4 plus your intelligence modifier, and mark them as trained. You can't select the skill gained from your background. See pages 12 through 17 for a list of skills. Alright, so I have an intelligence of 2 plus that 4, so we have 6 skills that we can be trained in. Alright, and before we start going into that, I want to see what these pages are. 12 through 17. That was 11. Skills. Alright, at the start of play, each survivor is already trained in several skills. During play, you might become an expert, master, or even a legend in that skill as a result of your experiences and flashbacks. Proficiency in skills, as well as saves, armor, and weapons, is not tied to your level. When you are told to increase your proficiency in a skill by 1 step, you can select any skill regardless of your level. Many skills and their actions work just like they do in Pathfinder. If a skill works differently, those differences are described here. If a skill isn't mentioned here, it doesn't exist in Hopefinder. Alright, so there's acrobatics, which is based on dex. This skill functions exactly as it does in Pathfinder, allowing your survivor to balance on uneven ground, tumble past foes, and squeeze through tight spaces. Athletic strength. This skill functions exactly as it does in Pathfinder, allowing your survivor to climb walls, swim through water, jump long distances, shove zombies, grapple wild beasts, and trip raiders. It can also be used to force open sealed doors and containers, though many of these are more easily opened using the batter action, which is a new action that has been added to Hopefinder. Costs 1 Pac-Man. It's an attack. Using a melee weapon or tool, you attempt to break open an object. Attempts an athletics check against DC set by the narrator based on the object's durability and condition. A cracked wooden door might only be a 15, whereas an iron safe is probably more like a 30. If you succeed, the item takes a ding. A critical success is 2 dings. If the weapon or tool is particularly appropriate for damaging the object, the item takes an additional ding. On a critical failure, your weapon or tool takes a ding instead. Dings is actually something that is going to be mentioned a little bit later when it comes to tools and armor and weapons and stuff like that. But just gonna keep that in mind for now. Computers is intelligence. You know how to operate, fix, and bypass the security of computers and related electronic systems. The skill covers the following actions and activities. Craft. It's a downtime and manipulate tags. This functions just like it does in the crafting skill, but for building computers using computer skill. Diagnose. It has the exploration tag. You can identify what's wrong with a malfunctioning device or system. Spend 10 minutes looking over a system or a device that you can see in its entirety and attempt a DC 15 the computer's check, DC 20 if you can only see most of it. On a success, you learn about what problems, if any, are preventing the system from functioning normally. On a critical success, you also detect any signs of intentional sabotage. Fix. It has the exploration and manipulate tags. You attempt to repair a computer or electronic system that is broken or malfunctioning. Spend 10 minutes and attempt a computer's check. The DC of this check depends on the difficulty of the problem as determined by the narrator. Complex problems might require multiple successful checks to solve. In such cases, a critical success counts as 2 checks towards completing the task. Hack. It's a 2 action, 2 Pac-Man consumption. It has the manipulate tag. You attempt to bypass a computer or electronic system security from a simple password or keycard system to something more complex, such as a biometric ID scan. The DC of this check depends on the complexity of the system, as determined by the narrator. Systems of higher quality likely require multiple consecutive successes to bypass their security, and some might even lock you out if you fail too many checks. A critical success on such systems counts as 2 successes towards completion, whereas a critical failure might immediately lock you out for a period of time. Operate. 1 Pac-Man. It has the manipulate tag. To use a computer system to perform one of the functions it was designed to do. This is determined by the computer itself, but typical uses include opening a database, transferring a file to a portable drive, or utilizing the functions of the devices attached to the computer system, such as a security camera or remotely operated door. This might include a computer's check to ensure you find what you are looking for quickly and that you use it in the right way. Alright, crafting, intelligence based. Although many of the uses of crafting skill are the same in Hopefinder, the rules behind them are different, as noted below. Note that crafting typically covers the sort of things used by survivors: weapons, armor, gear, etc. Vehicles and larger machines are built using the machinery skill, and computers are built using the computer skill. Alright. Barricade. It has the exploration and manipulate tags. You spend 10 minutes erecting a quick barrier or obstacle using junk and debris from the surrounding area. This barrier blocks one edge of a square and must be anchored to solid objects on both sides, usually a door frame, but a pair of heavy desks might also work. Attempt a DC 15 crafting check. On the success, the barrier has a break value of 1, and the DC to force it open is 10. On the critical success, double the break value and increase the DC by 5. You can also elect to increase the DC of the crafting check by 5 to increase the first break value by 1 and the DC to force it open by 5. You can use this action up to 3 times on a barrier to increase its break value, but you still only use the highest force open DC. Craft, the downtime and manipulate tags. Making items in the ruined world is less about money and more about access to the right parts. Each item has a type indicating the broad category of materials used to make it, and a break value, which roughly indicates the item's durability. To make an item, you must have a number of parts equal to twice the item's break value, and all of these parts must be of the same type as the item, except for patchwork items, which can be made from any part. Crafting electronics, medicine, or synthetic items requires a number of parts equal to 4 times the break value. Once you have all the necessary parts, you must spend time making the item. This is typically a number of hours equal to the number of parts spent, although the narrator might increase or reduce this time based on the item in question. Crafting a bandage might only take a minute or two, whereas building a generator from parts would likely take many days. At the end of this time, you excuse me. Talking a lot. At the end of this time, you attempt a crafting check with a DC of 10 plus a break value of the item, plus 4 if it's an electronic, medicine, or synthetic item. On a critical success, you make the item and spend 10% fewer parts than were required, minimum of 1. On the success, your attempt is successful and the item is finished. On a failure, you didn't create the item and you lost 1 part in the process. A critical failure, the attempt was a disaster and you lose half the parts. Alright, and then repair. It has the exploration and the manipulate tags. You spend 10 minutes attempting to fix a damaged item by expending the necessary parts and using the applicable repair kit. Attempt a crafting check. The DC is typically 10 plus the break value of the item, plus 4 if it's electronic, medicine, or synthetic item. Each attempt expends 1 part of the same type as the item. You can't repair a destroyed item. On the critical success, you remove 2 dings from the item, 3 if you are a crafting master, and 4 if you are a legend. On the success, you remove 1 ding from the item, 2 if you are a crafting master. Failure, you don't repair the item, but you don't lose the part either. And on the critical fail, you damage the item, giving it 1 ding, and you lose the part. Alright, deception based on charisma. This skill functions exactly as it does in Pathfinder, allowing your survivor to create a diversion, to distract the dead, impersonate someone else, lie to raiders, and to faint in combat. Diplomacy functions as exact same as it does in Pathfinder, allowing your survivor to gather rumors in a settlement, impress the members of a local gang, and make a request from a powerful warlord. Driving is based on dex. You know how to drive the few cars and trucks in the world that still run. The driving skill covers the following actions. Hotwire. This takes 2 Pac-Men and has the manipulate tag. You bypass the vehicle security, typically an ignition key to get it to start. This functions just like the hack activity of the computer skill, but using the driving skill instead. Cars with functioning electronics can be turned on using the computer skill as well. Maneuver. It has 1 Pac-Man use, has a manipulate tag. You try a background music sometimes. It has a manipulate tag. You try a difficult maneuver for the current speed of your vehicle. Attempt a driving check. The narrator determines what maneuvers are possible at your speed and the DC of this check. On a success, you perform the maneuver. On a failure, you crash. The vehicle takes damage, typically 1d6 dings, but it's otherwise still functional. On the critical failure, the crash deals 2d6 dings, and the nature of the mishap prevents it from functioning without repairs or further checks. Maybe you drove into a ditch and got stuck, or you have a flat tire. Navigate. It has the exploration and manipulate tags. You spend time driving to an unfamiliar destination based on maps and your knowledge of the area. Attempt a driving check. On a success, you drive at your intended destination. Oh, you arrive at your intended destination. Derp. On a failure, you arrive late, adding 20% to the total travel time. On a critical failure, you arrive at a wrong and possibly dangerous destination. I must spend at least 50% of the original travel time to attempt this check again.
Whatever, man.
Yeah, that's correct. There's a new damage, so to speak, that's kind of added. Items can be dinged up a certain amount before they are broken. But yeah, that's something that we'll get into when we start looking at those things. Intimidation based on charisma. This skill functions exactly as it does in Pathfinder, allowing your survivor to coerce an uncooperative stranger or demoralize a raider leader. Lore based on intelligence. This skill functions exactly as it does in Pathfinder, but it covers any specific topic or field of study from before the apocalypse. Example lore skills in Hopefinder include agriculture, animal handling, anthropology, architecture, botany, chemistry, culture, history, law, religion, and zoology. And these are just examples. There can definitely be a lot more. Machinery based on wisdom. This skill governs the creation, operation, and repair of most larger pieces of machinery. This includes vehicles, though operating them is covered by the driving skill. Lore Star Wars. Yeah, I mean lore. Shit, what would it be called? Pop culture. I mean, that could definitely be something. Craft. Downtime manipulate. This functions as described in the crafting skill, but for building machines and vehicles using the machinery skill. So craft, but on much larger stuff. Diagnose. Exploration. This functions as described in the computer skill, but using the machinery skill instead. Again, being used for much larger stuff. Same for fix. And operate. It has the manipulate tag at Callus on Pac-Man. This functions as described as a computer skill, but it governs the operation of machinery instead, like using a crane to pick up a car, triggering an iron press to crush a zombie. That's a very specific example. Or turning off a giant trash compactor. This might require a successful machinery skill check if the machine is particularly complex. Medicine, based on wisdom. Healing wounds and treating the sick are critical skills in the apocalypse. Most of the features of the medicine skill are unchanged, such as administering first aid, treating disease, and treating poison, only requiring a first aid kit instead of healer's tools. Treat wounds has some different uses as noted below. So for treat wounds, this works as it does in Pathfinder, but you need a first aid kit, not healer's tools, or a bandage. It can be performed untrained, and the DC and amount of healing differs as noted on the chart below. For a greater amount, see the surgery feats in the advanced feats section on page 57. Treat wounds can also heal bruises at the same time, twice the number on a critical success. And this is another thing. So whereas items and armor and weapons get dings, the body gets bruises, and that has gameplay effects. So if you're untrained and you're using treat wounds, DC is 10. If you succeed, heal a D4. If you critically succeed, heal 2D4, and you don't get rid of any bruises. If you are trained, DC is 15. D4 plus 2, 2D4 plus 2 on critical, you get rid of 1 bruise. Expert, DC 20, D4 plus 4, 2D4 plus 4, get rid of 1 bruise. Your Master, DC 25, D4 plus 6, 2D4 plus 6, get rid of 2 bruises. Your Legendary, DC 30, D4 plus 8, 2D4 plus 8, get rid of 2 bruises. Yeah. I don't know if I want to talk about. Well, I'm just going through the skills. We'll go into some of the other stuff maybe in a later section. Performance, charisma functions as it does in Pathfinder, allowing your survivor to play an instrument or take part in play. Some can even use it to inspire. Society, based on intelligence. This skill functions as it does in Pathfinder, allowing your survivor to know important information about the world from before the apocalypse and about what small enclaves of humanity are left. Stealth, based on Dex. This skill functions exactly as it does in Pathfinder, allowing your survivor to hide from zombies or sneak past raiders. It is a very useful skill in these grim times. Survival, based on Wisdom. In addition to sensing the right direction and tracking foes, these uses are unchanged from Pathfinder. This skill also governs the ability to cook, allowing food to be preserved for longer and making water safe to drink. So Cook has the exploration and manipulate tags. You can cook raw food to make it last longer and sterilize water to make it safe to drink, at least from parasites and other waterborne contagions. Spend 10 minutes with a fire and cooking implements, and then attempt a survival skill check. The DC is typically 10, but it might be higher if your tools are poor or the circumstances make it difficult. On a success, you can turn fresh meat or vegetables into cooked meat and vegetables, respectively, or make expired canned goods safe to eat. Food you prepare in this way takes twice as long to spoil. If you have a source of water that isn't contaminated with chemicals, you can also use this time to create 1 gallon of drinking water. There is something in Hopefinder where you do have to consume food and water, being able to survive. If you don't, you start to gain things like the stupefy and confuse conditions and stuff like that for every time you don't consume water or food. So that's something definitely to keep in mind. And then Thievery Dex. This skill functions exactly as it does in Pathfinder, allowing your survivor to disable traps and pick open mechanical locks. Electronic locks use the computer skill. Instead of thieves' tools, you need lockpicks to open a lock and a multi-tool to disable traps. Which is actually kind of similar to Baldur's Gate 3, where thieves' tools, you can unlock doors and stuff, but you need trap tool? I think it's called a trap tool to get rid of traps and hazards. Alright, so going back to the character sheet, that was quite a bit. I have 6 that I'm able to do. So, because my intelligence is 2, add 4 to that, 6. So, we're going to say trained in computers. We're going to say trained in crafting. I did say I was a runner, so we're going to say trained in acrobatics. We'll say trained in athletics. Survival, I think, is going to be needed, and I'm a runner. Let's say stealth. Alright, so survival, stealth, acrobatics, athletics, computers, Actually, do I want to say crafting? Fuck that. Let's go with diplomacy, actually, because this theoretical character is, you know, doing stuff for people out and about and stuff like that. So I guess that kind of makes some sense. All right. Next step. Okay, that was 6. Select 2 basic survivor feats. See page 19 for the basic survivor feats. Okay, that's what I was looking at. Alright, basic feats. As a survivor of the apocalypse, you've picked up a few tricks and aptitudes to help you live through this nightmare. Oh, these are skill feats. Okay. Oh, hold on a second. Select any 2 of the following when you create your survivor. As you level up through play, you'll often gain additional feats from other lists, but there are a few ways to gain additional basic feats. See the leveling on page 62. Alright, so... Sorry. Just a tad. Alright, so we're going to say, as a runner, we're nimble. That'll be our first basic feat. Which means that we increase our reflex proficiency by 1 step, and we increase our speed by 5. So that means our reflex is going to be master instead of trained, which is pretty crazy. And then our speed, which was 25, goes up by 5, so it's up to 30. Alright, so that's the first basic feat that we are picking, and then let's say let's go with adept. Oops. Which means that our proficiency in one of our skills goes up a step, and we have assurance skill feat in that skill. So let's say that we have, well, we got society from our background. So we're gonna bump that to expert. And then we're going to say that we have assurance and society. But yeah, I guess if I'm going through, because I've been doing it for all the other stuff. So adept, the time you've invested in a skill has paid off. Increase your proficiency in one skill by 1 step. You gain the assurance feat in that skill. Which, if I remember correctly, assurance, well, no, it's square. Why am I saying assume? Assurance has the fortune, general, and skill tags. You have to be trained in at least 1 skill. Even in the worst circumstances, you can perform basic tasks, choose a skill you're trained in. You can forego rolling a skill check for that skill and instead receive a result of 10 plus your proficiency bonus. Do not apply any other bonuses, penalties, or modifiers. And what it means by your proficiency bonus, that equals to your level. So you would just get a flat 10 and then add your bonuses and then that's it. Built. The weight of your gear and armor has improved your endurance. Increase your bulk limit by 2. When you wear 2 sets of armor, you are no longer clumsy 1. Exceptional. You are just that good. Increase any one ability modifier by +1. You can't raise your highest ability modifier in this way. Hardy. You can take a beating. Increase your fortitude proficiency by 1 step. Increase your maximum hit points by 4. Inoculated. You've received the basic inoculation against the Z plague. If you contract the disease while in stage 1, roll your fortitude saves to resist to infection twice, taking the better result. Keen. The constant stress of this life has honed your senses. Increase your perception proficiency by 1 step. If you're surprised at the start of combat, you lose 1 less action. Multilingual. Communication is key in the apocalypse. Add 2 languages to your list of languages known. Nimble. You're quick on your feet. Increase your reflex proficiency by 1 step. Increase your speed by 5 feet. Practice. Your favorite weapon feels like an extension of your body. Increase your proficiency in 1 type of simple weapon by 1 step. Once per combat, you can ignore 1 ding to that weapon caused by a critical failure on a strike. Prepared. You always have the right tools for the job. Increase your bulk limit by 3. Once per session, you can spend 10 minutes searching your pack for 1 item of your choice with a bar value equal to your level. Resolute. Nothing scares you. Increase your will proficiency by 1 step. You are immune to the frightened condition. Rich. You have more stuff than most. Increase your starting gear by 4 barter. Every time you increase your survivor level, gain an additional 4 barter worth of gear. Talented. You have a knack for picking up new skills. Increase 2 untrained skills to trained. And finally, warrior. Living in the apocalypse has forged you into a capable combatant. You are trained in martial weapons and heavy armor. Alright, so that was the basic feats. We decided to take nimble and adept. So adept, we increased our society from trained to expert. And we got the assurance for society. And then nimble, increase our speed from 25 to 30, increase it by 5 feet. And then what was the other parts? Reflex proficiency went up a step as well. So now we are master in. Maybe this will correct itself now. We are master in reflex. All right, so that was. Alright, that was step number 7. Alright, 8. Select your starting gear. Each survivor has an amount of barter equal to 10 plus their charisma modifier. This barter must be spent on starting gear and is in addition to any gear from your background. Alright, well our charisma is 0, so we have a barter of 10. I may hold off on doing this just yet, this step, because gear is going to be quite a bit of stuff. That's like a whole long section. Mark your level as 1, and then do all the math on all your attacks, AC, saving throws, perception, and skills. Add your Constitution modifier to your hit points. Pick a starting language plus a number of additional languages equal to your intelligence modifier above 0. I think I may do that step a little bit later as well. Hey Dom, this is Hopefinder. It is a Pathfinder 2e hack, by the lead designer of Pathfinder 2e, Jason Bowman. He wanted to make a zombie apocalypse version for Pathfinder. So this is what this is. So right now I'm just reading through the Survivor's Guide, aka the Player's Guide. Kind of just slightly filling out this character sheet. I may do the rest of this at a later point. But just trying to go through some of the stuff initially. Step number 10, pick a name for your character, describe your appearance, attitude, one person that you know, pick a thing that keeps you going, and the thing that's holding you back. 11, fill out the survey for the narrator. Okay, that's going to be the flashback stuff, and then note that you have 3 hope for step 12. Let's see. Since my intelligence is 2, I think I'm just going to note that. Oops. Comment and let's see. Those will be the 2 languages. So year, that's going to be a whole thing to talk about. Everything else has already kind of been calculating itself. But I think we'll kind of jump down. Let's see, what's actually the next section beyond the... Oh, it is gear. Okay. Yeah, this is gonna be a whole thing. And then what's after gear? Finishing touches. Okay, the rest of the calculation, and then it starts going into playing the game. Actually, you know what? Screw it. Let's keep going. Let's at least try and fill out the character sheet, and then we'll maybe the next time I actually stream through this, I'll go through playing and how some of these other systems kind of interact with each other. So going back up top, next step was gear. We have a barter equal to 10 plus our charisma modifier, which is 0, so it's just going to be 10. So we have to look through gear. However, we're going to start talking about gear. Okay, money is meaningless in the apocalypse. Barter is the only way that folks get by these days, trading one valuable item for other equally valuable items. To keep things simple, barter is the only form of currency in the game. Most folks will trade an item for any item of greater barter value, or an item of equal barter value if it's something they want. So if the item you want has a barter value, let's say +2 plus lower than what you're offering, the trader will usually accept it automatically. If the item you want has a barter value, it's the same value as what you're offering, the trader will accept it if they want the item. And then if the item you want has a barter value of +2 higher than what you're offering, the trader will almost never accept the trade. And then things kind of in between here and there. Alternatively, you can make items twice as valuable as items 1 level lower. In this system, an item with a barter value of 3 is worth 2 items with a barter value of 2, and 4 items with a barter value of 1. Keep things from getting too out of hand. Most folks aren't willing to trade more than 8 of anything for 1 item, even if it's of higher value. Each survivor starts play with a basic set of basic or winter clothes, the gear from their background, and other items with a barter value of equal to 10 plus their charisma. This initial barter must be spent on gear before play begins. Any that is unspent is lost. There's no credit in the apocalypse. You can't spend more than half of your starting barter on one item. Items with a barter value of 0 are generally found during play in trash heaps of the world. If you want to start play with any 0 barter items, every 2 that you take costs 1 barter. Alright, the inventory sheet. It's a core part of your survivor and is divided into 2 sections, ready and stowed, which is what we did see earlier. Well, it was down here for gear. Stowed items and then ready items. Ready items are things you can access by spending only 1 action. The ready list has a dedicated spot for clothing and armor, and 8 other spots for things strapped to your person, such as weapons, tools, and backpacks. Wearing a tool belt allows you to ready 4 tools in just one of these spots. Okay, so that's what the difference of that was. And the builder background, if I'm not mistaken, has a tool belt that they get. So that was like their free piece of gear. Otherwise, you're gonna have to buy one. Okay, you can also ready tools and other objects up to 1 bulk in these spots. If you have a backpack or other carrying device, you can place items on the stowed inventory list. These spaces are limited by bulk, with 10 lights being equal to 1 bulk. All items except those stored inside a backpack count against your bulk limit, which is typically 5 plus your strength, as specified in Pathfinder. Note that you can wear 2 sets of armor, one on top of the other. This gives you the resistances of both, but you take the worst AC modifier and both speed penalties, and your clumsy 1. Each set of armor takes a ding when damage exceeds its resistance from outside to inside. Clothing counts as a set of armor, but it must be worn under other armor, and it doesn't give you the clumsy condition if worn with armor, and its resistance doesn't apply until the armor is destroyed. So that's kind of another thing. Maybe I should actually jump into that real quick. What was the section that was here? I think it's in the playing section. Downtime, turn structure, attacks. Yeah. Maybe we'll just quickly go over this. Whenever a target is dealt damage, the amount it takes is first reduced by the resistance of the armor. Note that some armors only give resistance against certain types of damage, offering no protection against those not listed. So if an armor's resistance is greater than the damage, the target takes no damage but takes a bruise. If the damage is greater than the armor's resistance, the target takes damage in excess of the armor's resistance value, and the armor takes a ding. If the damage type isn't covered by the armor's resistance, or the attack bypasses the armor's resistance, the target takes all of the damage and the armor doesn't take a ding. And unfortunately, having to bounce around a little bit more, dings. So not specifically. It does. Now I'm trying to remember where it specifically talks about dings. I think it's part of break, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, yeah. This value represents an item's durability. Once an item has taken a number of dings equal to half this value, it is broken, but it can still be used. If it takes dings equal to or greater than this value, it's destroyed. An item with a break value of C is destroyed when used or when it takes 1 ding. It's otherwise treated as having a break value of 1. To build an item, you must spend a number of parts. of the appropriate type equal to twice the item's break value, or 4 times the break value if it's electronic, medicine, or synthetic item. So, if, for example, let's say we have a crowbar. It's a tool. It has a break value of 4. If it takes 2 dings, it is broken, but it can still be used. But if it takes 4 dings, then it is completely destroyed and it can't be used. And as we kind of talked about a little bit earlier, if you're, say, using that tool for a check or something, if you critically failed, you could put a ding on that tool. So there's ways of being able to kind of break something, even if you're trying to use it for a check or whatnot. Parts. Bartering for parts. I love how I just skipped around the different fucking sections just to get to this. Parts. Bartering for parts isn't as simple as it seems, as some parts have a higher barter value than others, and most folks who want to trade have relatively few parts available. If the PCs are looking for a handful of parts to repair their gear, their best bet is to scrap an item of the same type. This requires a crafting skill check, typically with a DC equal to 10 plus the break value. On a success, they get a number of parts equal to half the item's break value. On a failure, they get 1/4 of the break value, and a critical failure, they get none. If the survivors want to trade for a few parts, use following general guidelines for their value based on type. Most traders won't accept parts as barter for anything other than more parts. So, for example, if a part type is like, say, an axe, a blade, a bow, a cloth, a club, leather, or a tool, it has a barter of 1. Bullet, fuel, medicine, guns, essentially, or power items, they have a barter of 2. And electronics, explosives, grenades, or synthetics have barters of 3. And then, yeah, there's a whole bunch of list of things from armors, light armors, heavy armors, shields, guns. I remember him, Jason Bowman, in the video saying that he didn't want to get too crazy with firearms and stuff like that. So he kind of just lumped them into things like a hunting rifle, a revolver, a hand cannon, heavy machine gun, light machine gun, sniper rifles. I think he had said something like some of like the names of some guns are pretty much like brand names, like Smith & Wesson. So didn't want to get into all that, so he just gave it some very generic names. The staples of any zombie apocalypse: baseball bats, golf clubs, axes, shivs, pocket knives. Of course, you have to have your fucking katanas in here. But yeah, and then for gear, arrows or bolts, bullets, piercing bullets, which I think is essentially armor piercing rounds, and Z rounds. Something very specific. I'll get into a second. Food, obviously alcohols, rations, meat, soft drinks, water, expired canned goods. There is a difference there. Medicine, things like aspirin, bandages, first aid kits, cold packs. Those are things. There's some of these items kind of play into the bruise system that one will take from damage. Tools, obviously a bunch of stuff that you will find in normal everyday life. Worn clothing, holsters, yada. So as I was kind of saying, damage. This is how much damage a weapon deals when it hits. If it's a melee weapon, add your strength to the damage roll. This also notes the type of damage. Bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. Armor can reduce or even negate the amount of damage dealt. So actually, if we go up and look at, say, a crude pistol, it does 1d6 piercing. It has a clip of 1, deadly traits, yada yada. Oh wow, it has a range of 10. Shit. But yeah, it does a d6 of piercing. If you are wearing armor, let's say biker gear, it has resist of bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing of 3. So if I remember correctly, in Pathfinder, resistance not the same as Dungeons and Dragons, but resistance is by a value. So if it's resist 3 of a certain damage type, you're reducing that damage that you took from that by that value. So that gun, if it does a d6, let's say it does, 4 damage on that d6, and you're wearing biker gear, you are resisting 3 of that damage, but you're still going to take 1 left over. But then there's some other things that I talk about damage. I guess I may as well jump down. Yeah. Well, you know what? Screw it. Well, let's talk about attacks. The only way to deal with the undead is to destroy them. Attacks in Hopefinder work much as they do in Pathfinder, with some changes to how damage works due to armor and the degradation of items. Attack rolls work just like they do in Pathfinder. Roll a d20, add your bonus, and compare it to the AC of your target. If you meet or exceed the total, you hit and deal damage. If your total beats the AC by 10 or more, it's a critical hit. If you roll a natural 20, you increase the degree of success by 1 step. All this holds true for failing the attack roll as well. Failing by 10 or more is a critical failure, and rolling a natural 1 decreases the degree of success by 1 step. Differences come in resolving critical hits and misses and applying damage to armored targets. So as we were kind of saying earlier, for damage, the armor's resistance is greater than the damage. They take no damage, but they take a bruise. If the damage is greater than the armor's resistance, target takes the excess from what is excess from what was dealt, and then the armor takes a ding. So the example I gave earlier, that crude pistol, if it did 4, the biker leathers, it had resistance 3. That would mean that the biker leathers would take 1 ding on it, and you would take 1 damage because it exceeded the resistance that the armor was giving. No, actually, if I go back up, it has a break value of 10. Okay, so that means it would have gotten 1 ding, and if the leather armor or the biker gear gets 5 dings, it is broken, but it's still usable. But if it gets to 10 dings, then it's destroyed. Critical hits. This is different than regular Pathfinder. Critical hits are especially dangerous in Hopefinder. Critical hits deal double damage, double the total result after adding any bonuses, and ignore resistance from armor unless that armor includes a helmet, in which cases the resistance applies as normal. Weapons with the deadly trait deal triple damage on a critical hit, and if the attack total exceeds the target's AC by 20 or more, instantly reduce the target to 0 hit points. Finally, critical hits that deal damage have an additional effect based on the type of damage dealt. If it's acid or fire, critical hits cause one persistent damage of that type. Bludgeoning, critical hits also deal a bruise. Cold and electricity cause the target to be slowed 1 for 1 minute. Piercing, it causes the target to be sickened 1 until it receives any amount of healing. Poison, it causes the target to be enfeebled for 1 hour, enfeebled 1 for 1 hour. Slashing, it causes the target to be 1 persistent bleed damage on the critical hit. Sonic, it causes the target to be deafened for 1 hour. And zombie, in addition to the effects based on the damage type, critical hits from a zombie attack often carry the risk of infection. A zombie's description lists which of its attacks cause an infection. That's stuff that's kind of described in the narrator's guide, because that's where the monster bestiary is listed. Critical misses on an attack roll causes the weapon to take 1 ding. If the attack has a fist if the attack was with a fist or another body part, the attacker instead takes a bruise. And then here we get into bruises. Bruises are a lasting reminder of your survivor's struggles out in the zombie apocalypse. The most common way to get a bruise is to have your armor absorb all of the damage from an attack. Other common ways involve falling, tripping, or other environmental dangers. Finally, some zombies and large animals might deal bruises more easily via their special attacks. Once your number of bruises is equal to or greater than your maximum hit points, which again, I'm just looking at this level 1 character and my max HP is 8. So if I have 4 bruises, no, actual maximum hit points I have. So if I have 8 bruises, you are fatigued and unable to recover from the condition until your number of bruises is less than your maximum hit points. If your number of bruises is ever equal to or greater than twice your maximum hit points, you are slowed 1 and unable to recover from the condition until your total number of bruises is less than twice your maximum hit points. And finally, if your number of bruises is ever equal to or greater than 3 times your max hit points, you're unconscious and can't be roused until the total is less than that amount. So you can be resisting quite a bit of damage and stuff like that, but you'll be racking up a lot of bruises, which can be just as bad. You can recover from bruises in several ways. A successful use of treat wounds by someone trained in medicine heals 1 or more bruises. A full night's rest heals a number of bruises equal to your constitution mod. Add your level to this if you are fully fed and hydrated. A full day's rest heals double this number to a minimum of 2. Aspirin or ice packs, they heal 1 or 1d4 bruises respectively after 10 minutes. And beer and liquor heal 1 and 2 bruises respectively, but they count against your hydration. Dings and broken gear. Nothing is new anymore. The factories have stopped when the world ended. Over time, your gear will degrade, needing repairs and patches to continue to function. Eventually, you'll need to replace most of your gear your survivor had at the start of play. So during combat, your armor and weapons take damage in the form of dings. A ding represents some significant damage to the object. The exact details aren't important, but feel free to elaborate on them as necessary to add narrative tension. Excuse me. You must also make a check at the end of combat to see if any of your gear was damaged as a result of the struggle. Roll a flat check. The DC of this flat check is equal to 5 plus the number of rounds of combat. If you succeed this check, if you fail this check, something was damaged in the fray. Roll a d10 and consult your ready inventory to see what item gets a ding. See the inventory sheet for complete instructions. If you roll a 1 or critically fail this flat check, 1d4 items take a ding. Roll randomly for each one. So going back to the character sheet, it would be this section here on the right hand side. And they are all conveniently labeled 1 through 10. So that helps. Each item has a break value. If an item takes dings equal to or greater than half its break value, the item is broken. It can still be used, but any checks made using the item takes a -2 penalty, including weapon attack and damage rolls. Electronic items require a DC 10 flat check to turn on if they are broken. On a failure, the check can't be attempted again for 1 hour. If armor is broken, reduce its resistance by half. If an item takes a ding equal to or greater than its break value, or takes dings equal to or greater than its break value, the item is destroyed, leaving behind a number of parts equal to 1/4 its break value. The type of these parts is determined by the narrator, but usually the same type as the item. If you pick up an item not listed in the gear section, use the following guidelines to help determine the item's break value. And they kind of give some examples. Small, delicate, or flimsy objects have a break value of 1. Small object has a break value of 2. A handheld object, break value of 4. Large handheld object, break value of 8. Light worn object, break value of 2. Heavy worn object, break value of 4. Durable worn objects, break value of 6. Yeah, I don't want to go too deep into some of the other stuff because now I'm just kind of going all over the place. So I was just gonna try and flesh out the last character creation stuff. Starting gear. So I have 10 gear that I can do. This 10 barter, and then I can choose from the list from that barter with gear. So let's start with armor. Basic clothes. Barter 0. Okay, that's fine. Basic clothing. And let's say let's say they have workwear. So they're wearing 2 armor. However, they don't have the clumsy 1 condition because one of them is clothing. That's fine. And the workwear is 1 barter. So now I'm down to 9. Alright, next thing. Let's say for a simple weapon, he has, well, obviously it's fist, that makes sense. Oh, I know that's a put here too. Workwear. Oh, AC is negligible. Okay. And it has no traits either. Let's see, type. Okay, cloth and leather. AC gives no bonuses. speed. Neither of them give any penalties. Resist. Clothing doesn't do. Oh, it does. It has 1 slashing. However, I think it goes from outside in. So workwear is on the outside. So I have 2 bludgeoning. Resists 2 to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. The bulk. It's light. Clothing, I think it's also light. And then the break, it has a break of 10. Clothing has a break of 6. This is 6. This is 10. Has no dings, it's fine. There's no bonuses to AC, no bonuses to either one of these. There's no special traits for either of these, and there's no adjustments to speed for either of these. Clothing had 1 slash. Oops. And that was it for the armor section. Alright. Let's say they have a pocket knife. Which would be their ready item. It is a blade. Barter of 1. Bulk of light. It has a break of. Is that right? Shit, it is. It has a break of 1. So the work clothes have a barter of 1, basic clothes, barter of 0, workwear, barter of 1. That brought me down to 9. Pocket knife, that has a barter of 1, brings me down to 8. Let's say he has another thing on him. Let's just say a hand axe. So that has a barter of 2, so that brings me down to 6. And I'll fill out those other details later. Let's say he has a bedroll on him, which has a barter of 2, so I'm down to 4. Let's see, he was a runner, right? He's a runner. Let's say he has canteen on him. He's a flashlight. Actually, no, sorry. Compass. Fuck this. So canteen is 1, the compass is 1, so that means I'm down to 2. And I don't know. I have a local map that came with my background. Don't worry about that. Oh, obviously, you should have a fucking backpack. What's wrong with me? That'll be the last one. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8. 9. Oh, so it's still one. Let's say. No, wait, let's wait. Let's see. What else can I put on barter? Let's go with. Maybe I'll put that flashlight. Because I had a barter of 1. Okay, so that should use all 10 that I was allotted. Couple weapons, couple clothing, armor, and some other stuff that was kind of given. What's next on the list? Alright, mark level is 1, then do the math for all your attacks, AC, saving throws, perception, and skill checks. Right, we were kind of doing it as we were going along. Oh, well, not so much the weapon. Pocket knife was one of them. Hand axe was another. Trained in simple melee weapons. Let's see. The pocket knife does 1 slash. I mean, this is kind of repeating some of the stuff that I was written down. Hand axe. Oh, it's classified as an axe, obviously. Pocket knife 1, 2. It does 1 damage. It is a simple. Both these are simple weapons. Attack bonus. Nothing in particular, it looks like. Hands, they both require 1. Hand axe, it does 1d6 slashing. Traits on it. It has a tool. Pocket knife is finessing tool. Probably should say something on that. Break value for hand axe is 4. Break value on pocket knife is 1. Bulk L. Hand axe is also L, right? Yeah, it was. Don't have to worry about any of this other stuff. The bonus on it, I think it's, what is it, my proficiency, but plus modifier, so strength is a 0. Strength mod is 0. I don't think any of these give. No, it doesn't look like it. So I don't really have any bonuses other than what my training is, which is equal to what my level, if I'm not mistaken. If I was using a VTT to do this sheet, everything else would be calculated. I'm just trying to figure it out through my head, but it is what it is. Next, yeah. I know this is so thrilling to watch me try and do this mentally. Con modifier to, so the skills are already being calculated by the sheet. I don't have a con modifier, so that doesn't get added to my hit points. Starting languages plus an additional language equal to intelligence modifier. Ooh, so that probably means I have an additional one because my intelligence is 2. So starting language, obviously, well, I put common. I was thinking about that in different terms. English, Kosa, and let's say Kosa and Afrikaans with extra 2. Okay. Pick a name for your character, describe your appearance, attitude, and one person that you know. I don't think that is listed on this side. Ah, here we go. It's on this one. Page 3. Physical description. I don't know. African American. Whoops, can't spell. African American male, personality, I don't know. Let's say stubborn. Emergency contact. That's the person you care about. Let's see. Attitude, what do you know? Pick a thing that keeps you going and a thing that's holding you back. Known enemies. I don't know. Let's say John Smith. Spell with Jon. What keeps you going? Wait, hold on. Holding you back. Oh, okay. What keeps this character going? Let's say that Alexa is his little sister, so providing for family. What's holding him back? Let's say attitude. That's what's holding him back. Okay, that was step number 10. Number 11, fill out the survey found in the character sheet PDF, give it to the narrator. They will review it, jot down some notes, and then give it back. Keep the details hidden from other survivors as they will learn about you through play. And then the final step is note that you have 3 hope, which I think is on the first page, right? Yes, hope 3. Boom. That's something that's going to come into play. So, flashbacks. This is gonna be a whole thing. How long am I going to stream for? Living, playing, dying. Advancements. Um, I think I'll finish this part of the character sheet maybe the next time I do this, but I think I'll just do a very quick thing of flashbacks. Occurred during play and represent a brief moment in your past that has some relevance or bearing on your survivor's struggle in the present. You decide the basic framework of your flashbacks by filling out the survey during survivor creation from page 7 and giving it to the narrator. When the flashback happens, it's up to you, but you should look for look for a moment that is poignant and relevant in some way to the scene happening around the flashback. If no opportunity presents itself, a flashback can occur in the moment of rest and reflection during the story. Each survivor has one flashback in each play session. Flashbacks have a variety of themes loosely based around your life and training from before the fall of civilization. Each flashback unlocks some special actions or abilities that might help in your struggles. So that's kind of like the overview of what this section is going to end up being, which I'm actually going to complete that later. Because we've honestly just been bouncing around various different parts. And then we'll do also the finishing touches on the character sheet the next time around. So I think that's kind of where we're going to be. Yeah, we're going to leave off here because we kind of went a little bit through some of the earlier parts for here. Some of the more details will be later. Next will be finishing touches as we finish up this character sheet and essentially kind of look over the rest of what Hopefinder kind of brings to the table. All right, part 1. Part 2 will be some other time later, later this week. I think I may do a little. What day? Monday. Yeah, I'll stream later tonight as well. Probably continue Voice of Cards, just getting something done. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. I've been Lex, most appreciated. Hopefully with me actually putting this stuff on stream will prompt my ass to get something running at some point this year. There was a one-shot adventure that Jason put together that was holiday themed. Unfortunately, we're past the holidays because I was doing stuff with my family. So I guess I may just keep that adventure for later in the year. I may try and put together a different one shot just to run through this if people are interested, see what the interest level for that is. But yeah, in the meantime, I'm just going to continue working through this and getting myself a little bit more familiar to be able to run it. So I've been Lex, thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.